There is a specific bone-deep exhaustion that comes from pretending you are okay while the rest of the world rushes by. We pack down our anxiety, our resentment, and our sadness, convinced that if anyone saw these messy emotions, we would be instantly disqualified from their love or acceptance. We force a smile because the alternative feels too risky. This text, Psalm 139, reads as a remarkably raw journal entry, tackling the fear of vulnerability head-on. The theme centers on an everywhere-present God, a premise used to shatter the illusion that you must be emotionally fixed before approaching the divine. He makes the case that true spiritual connection begins with uncomfortable, unvarnished honesty. At first glance, the idea of divine omniscience, being completely, perfectly known, can trigger a massive spike of anxiety. The thought of every hidden insecurity and private failure being exposed is terrifying. The writer acknowledges this total exposure immediately in the opening lines. Look at verse 2. You perceive my thoughts from afar. Every quiet panic attack, every internal spiral is already fully understood. He then maps out the spatial logic of this reality. From the highest peaks to the depths of the sea, he realizes there is absolutely nowhere a person can retreat to hide their internal struggles. Yet he frames this inescapable presence as a comfort. He writes, "Even the darkness will not be dark to you." It is evidence that even in our most isolated, pitch-black moments of mental despair, we are not actually alone. This matters because we often battle the feeling that we are inherently broken or worthless. The text offers a direct counter-argument to that worthlessness. Panning down to verse 14, the writer declares, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made." It is a bold assertion of deliberate, intentional design. The study notes at the bottom provide clear, actionable advice on this point. They explain that we must cultivate the exact same level of respect for ourselves that our Creator holds for us. Acknowledging your own unchangeable value provides the emotional safety required to process the darker, uglier feelings that inevitably follow. And those darker feelings arrive abruptly. Without warning, the writer pivots from a state of peaceful wonder straight into intense, bitter anger. In a startling shift, verses 19 through 22 demand violence. He asks God to slay the wicked and states plainly, "I have nothing but hatred for them." This raw aggression contradicts the pressure of toxic positivity, which often demands we suppress our rage and paste a faithful smile over our very real pain. The historical commentary on the left page explains why this rage is recorded here, deconstructing the myth that certain subjects are unsuitable for discussion with the divine. Looking closely at point 1, we see that these intense demands function as a release valve for profound trauma. The victims are asking God to execute justice precisely so they do not have to carry the destructive burden of seeking revenge themselves. Point 4 reveals that bringing your unfiltered, ugly outrage straight to God is an act of trust in His justice. As the notes say, God can be trusted with your heart. Entrusting God with these volatile, socially unacceptable emotions proves the security of an authentic relationship. But the emotional spiral doesn't end in anger. Having vented his darkest feelings, the writer is finally ready for a moment of complete, vulnerable surrender. He closes with a courageous request to separate his justified anger from his human flaws. He writes, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts." The commentary at the bottom right calls this exploratory surgery for sin. It is a precise sequence. By allowing the divine to examine our internal faults only after we have safely unloaded our pain and trauma, we clear out the infection and begin the path toward true healing. The writer's progression from raw venting to vulnerable self-examination suggests that a spiritual life has enough room for the entire messy human emotional spectrum. You do not need to clean yourself up to be loved. Instead, you can bring your anxiety, your depression, and your rage to the table exactly as they are. I challenge you to identify just one anxious thought or frustration you need to stop hiding today. If you're willing, drop it down in the comments. Let's make that space safe together. Remember, you are fully known, you are deeply seen, and you are entirely safe. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe so we can keep exploring these ideas together.